Alright, I just wanted to give you guys an update on where we are with our infertility journey. Last time I posted something, let you guys know we had been blessed with 2 babies, 2 successful transfers after doing IVF, and that was 2019. Fall of that year we decided to go ahead and do the infectious disease panel before insurance was up, to just kind of get that blood work done, since we had to get that refreshed for any upcoming transfers. So we did that in December of 2019, anticipating we would do some kind of transfer in 2020. We also got notified in 2019 that the doctor we had been working with moved and was no longer with that practice, so that we would have to, I guess, be treated by or reestablish care with one of the other doctors in that practice for any future treatments. Knowing that, I wasn't sure what to expect. From my situation, it was a real difficult struggle to get the original doctor we had to agree to do a transfer because of my endometriosis, the cyst I had. I tried to get that to shrink on its own. They gave me some time to try that, didn't work, so they would not do a transfer until I had surgery on that, which I really didn't want to get the surgery because it didn't have great outcome as far as things often just regrew. It could sometimes spread the endometriosis. It didn't really correlate with any difference in outcomes for transfers or births, anything tangible. So it seemed like a lot to go through just to get it removed for it to grow back a month later. But in any case, the original doctor insisted upon it. We had to have that surgery, and then once I had the surgery, it did grow back just the following month or whatever it was. But after I went through the surgery, she let me go forward with a transfer. But it was a nail biter there for a while. I wasn't sure that she would let me get a transfer done at all with that cyst regrowing and it being of a certain size. So as difficult as it was to jump those hurdles and get the transfer initially, so I was a little bit apprehensive, a little bit fearful of what treatment would look like with a new doctor. And I was envisioning perhaps having to start back at square one with months and months of testing, surgery, healing time, more testing before we could do a subsequent transfer with a new doctor. So all that to say, we wanted to reestablish care and talk to a doctor sooner than later, even though we weren't planning to transfer, right at the beginning of 2020 or something like that. We knew we had to wait at least 1 year since the previous birth. We wanted to get the conversation going with them before then, just so we had an idea what we were looking at and what they would require. So we got on their books essentially in February. Then everything got really crazy, and all medical places, including clinics like IVF clinics, weren't sure what to do. So everything went to video meetings if possible, and that's what they did. They asked us to reschedule it and just do a video conference call with the doctor in March instead of doing an in-person meeting like we previously had done. So we did do that at the end of March and reestablished care with a doctor. The good news was we didn't have to start excuse me, we didn't have to start at square one again. We could go into another cycle, another transfer, without starting over with some of our previous tests and surgeries and whatever we had been through up until then. So that was a big relief. The other thing was, though, that the clinic didn't know what to expect with all the pandemic stuff coming out, and they were closing. They weren't going to be doing transfers or anything for a while because they didn't know the implications and what to expect and the impact of everything that was going on. They didn't know when they would reopen. So we had hoped to not wait until like the end of that year, 2020, for a transfer. We were hoping for a fall transfer. But they weren't sure when they would be reopened to do testing, reopened to do transfers, or any of that. I asked the doctor, and he didn't anticipate them being closed longer than the summer. But nobody knew at that point. I was filled with a lot of uncertainty myself, a lot of soul searching and prayer went on of whether I should even be pursuing a transfer with everything that was unknown in that year. Pandemic stuff. No matter what you believe about that or what it ended up being, at that point I felt like I needed to put things on the altar with God and just say, I really, really want to transfer another baby. I really want to meet more of my children. But I felt like I needed to just give it up to God and not force something if it wasn't meant to be, if it was not God's will, if it wasn't the right time. And waiting is hard. Everybody in infertility knows the wait sometimes seems endless, but I also just needed to be humbled at that point and give it up, not control the timeline, or if I ever had another child, just let God show me what to do. We ended up having the meeting with that doctor the end of March and started some of the testing and that type of thing in early summer, and decided, because things were so uncertain, so we opted to go ahead and transfer before the fall of that year, just because we didn't know the state of the world and how things were going to go, and didn't want to miss the opportunity to go ahead and do that once we had already done the testing and felt ready to go forward with it. So in August, we went ahead and transferred our third embryo. They want things to be a certain way before they transfer, but the doctor looked at my history, not textbook, to compare these other successful transfers, what they looked like at that stage. And so I was able to go ahead and go through with the transfer, which was wonderful. We had to actually do the transfer, move it up, and do it sooner than anticipated because the way my lining was. And it was the same this time, where we did have to move the transfer up by a day or two. But transfer went well, and we were very blessed to be pregnant for our third embryo transfer with that embryo, and it was a beautiful pregnancy and a successful birth as well. So that was in 2021, we had our third, and 2022, the fertility practice that we went with up until that point was shutting down completely. They were closing. So that doctor that we had worked with for our third transfer was joining a different fertility practice in the area, and so we had the option of just following him there with our embryos, and that's what we did. Our embryos were transferred to that facility under that doctor's name. We stayed with him. Didn't have to start at square one with testing or anything because it was the same doctor, which was wonderful. And we transferred our fourth embryo in 2022, and that was successful, which was amazing. The doctor, so happy for us and just amazed that 4 out of 4 transfers have been successful. So unbelievably blessed and thankful for that. I know it's not the norm and not what we even expected necessarily, because I've seen so many other people's stories out there that it doesn't go that way. But we were elated to have another family member join us in 2023 this year. They were born in spring, so yeah, that's an update on our fertility journey. We had our doctor leave the practice, and then between that point and the next transfer, the practice we were with shut down, joined the new practice with our doctor there, and it's been 4 for 4. I just want to give glory to God on that. It is absolutely a miracle that we have the embryos we do, and that we have the children we do, and that we have been successful with those transfers. I'm so thankful to God and to the people who prayed for us in the stages we've been through with infertility. And I just want to put this out there as a testimony to what can come of infertility. There's a lot of waiting, a lot of disappointment, a lot of sadness and brokenness with infertility, but God can redeem anything. And in our story, having 4 beautiful, healthy children, when I never thought we would even have one, is a testimony to God's goodness and His, the way that He can work far beyond our expectations. So yeah, we have been very blessed up until now, and I will be putting out some more videos just sharing more birth stories and any upcoming things going on with us for infertility. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.